So maybe you've done 1,000 interviews. Maybe you're stepping into your first interview. Let me give you some tips, given the experience that I've had for most of my career on the other side of the table of being an interviewer, that I would recommend you do to succeed in an interview. One is know the business, right? K, right? Know the business. 2 is exude an authenticity. And then 3 is let's discuss your resume a bit. So do not go on site without deeply understanding what this business does as best as you possibly can, right? Go to their website, look at About Us. How do they describe their business? What are their products? What markets do they serve? What customers do they have? Try to understand that the best you can. If you feel like you can't find a lot of stuff that's found on their website that tells you a lot about it, get a sense of who they might be competing with, that might be publicly traded possibly. They will be disclosing a lot of things that are happening in the industry and how that industry naturally thinks and acts. But go to their website and be really clear about what they do and what products they have and what customers they serve. Know that business well before you come in. And then I would argue that then connect what your role or function would do to contribute to that. How does your role in marketing or engineering or operations or supply chain or HR do to help them succeed within the environment they're in, within the industry that they compete in? If you haven't spent significant time on their website, hearing from how they describe their business, you're likely going to be underarmed in the interview. Second thing around authenticity, there'll be questions that'll come to you that might surprise you. Don't be scared about thinking about it for a second. Even don't be afraid to say, I'm not sure, but let me give at least the way I'm thinking about that right now. Help the interviewer see the way you think about issues, even if you don't know the answer. But in some situations, they'll ask a question and you know the answer right off the bat. The challenge as an interviewer is, for me, is that when I ask a question and then boom, you jump right into a rote answer, one that you've said 1,000 times before. I can feel that. So bring some authenticity, bring some, that's a great question. Let me give you 3 or 4 things that I've experienced or how I've thought about this, and try to be as authentic, as real, as conversational as you possibly can. So bring some authenticity. Don't feel like you have to have every answer. I, as an interviewer, oftentimes just want to hear the way you think about an issue, how you consider certain variables. But I really don't want you to come in with a bunch of rote answers. I can feel it right off the bat, and it feels inauthentic. Third thing I'd say is on a resume. Resume typically is a list of things you've done. That actually doesn't tell me a huge amount. Now, it's helpful to know that you've done certain things, but I don't know if you're good at them. So on your resume, as you detail your work experience or you detail even your school academic work, I want to know if you've been good at those things. How can you prove that you've done something, but you're actually good at doing it? Can you quantify anything that you've done, right? You're in the top 5% of X, or you generate this amount of revenue in this role, or you're able to reduce this amount of cost in this role. I want you to try to quantify as best you can the impact that you had in the business. A laundry list of things you've done doesn't help me a ton. It helps me some, but not a lot about how I can leverage your prior success in the roles that you'll come in and do for me. So if you can be really, really smart about the business, if you can exude a level of authenticity and comfort and being willing to talk through certain things is really important, because I'm hiring people, not a computer. And then the third thing I'd say is get really, really good at quantifying your resume, the experience that you have, and give some context for me to understand what you do and if you're good at it, and then how I can leverage that in my business. Those 3 things, knowledge, authenticity, and resume, are 3 things that'll help you in your next interview.